Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Man, thanks for being here. As always, as we get started here, make sure you subscribe down here. Hit the subscribe button and take the share link and put it on Facebook. Put it on your Twitter. That's how we're gonna grow this thing. It's gonna make this better for everybody. God damn it, dude. Let's just get into it.
So today you're probably going, where's your guest? Last week's guest was so good, right? We had Corey Knox last week. We're very thankful to him for being here. I'm glad he was here. It was one of my favorite conversations I've had so far. There's only been 2 of them, but I think that was a really good interview. If you haven't checked out that episode yet, make sure you go back and check Corey Knox's out. But today, we don't have a guest. Why don't we have a guest today? I'll tell you why. My house is falling goddamn apart. That's why. So this is probably the last time you'll ever see this studio. I debated on doing an episode this week. As we speak, I've tried to do the episode 3 times already, and my power just keeps shutting off. The computer, everything in the house just shuts off as I'm trying to record the podcast, which is great. That's what we love. That's what you love when you're doing a production thing. It's that your power, as you get through it 3 times, that the power, your electricity shuts off. That's what you love. That's what I love. So, we're trying it again. Man, this house, I have to be careful what I say on the podcast. I'll tell you why. So I talked about it on other episodes. My house is falling apart. I look like shit. Everything's horrible. But we're getting out of our agreement with our lease. And I have to be careful with what I say because I'm about to sign an NDA with my lease people who will remain unnamed. And I will not tell you the address or anybody's name involved in this situation. But I will tell you that the place I live right now is falling apart. The last time I talked about it on the podcast, I think I said that there was just water leaking and some stuff going on. Now there's the sewage was backed up in the wall in my bathroom. They had to cut the damn wall out and pump sewage out of the place. There was sewage leaking under the floors and into the ceiling, which is super great. Super, super good. That's what you want. When you build a house, I think you want the sewage to leak into the floors and the ceiling. I think that's what you try to do. So whoever remodeled this house, they did it better. I've never heard of anybody's house that does that. So kind of kudos to the design team on that one. But so we've had plumbers and maintenance people in and out of my residence. There's huge fans in my room right now that are getting the water up off the floor. I had to turn off for this. They wanted me to remove the whole studio. They wanted me to take the whole studio and the whole bedroom out into the upstairs and just not live in here anymore and tear up the floors. But I told them I can't do that until we find a new place to live. So I've been looking at houses. I've been going around looking for places. We're trying to, we're probably just going to find any. All the houses we've looked at, honestly, are great. Just as good as this one, if not better for the podcast, what I'm going to be doing. So, here next, the next episode we do, unless for some reason I could pull off a guest episode or it takes a long time to move out. I don't think it's going to take very long for us to get out of here. But this will be the last. Hey.
It's been good. It's been good to have, the little bit of time we had with this podcast studio. And I wish I could keep it going. I look horrible at this angle on the camera. If you're audio only, maybe you want to switch to that for now. Because my lighting, I can't even run on my
goddamn lighting. I can't run all the lighting because it'll shut off the power in my house. I can only run half the lighting. It's bullshit. Oh my god, dude. It's been tough I've been just playing video games and sleeping all day. Thank God I'm still unemployed. I don't have anything to do. I mean, it's been so crazy we're dealing with just having to find a new place to live after we just found a new place to live. And it sucks, but I think it's going to be for the best. We think that our house might be haunted by some kind of demon. I don't think that'll be in the NDA. I think I can discuss that. The fridge, not only has the sewage was leaking out of the into the whole house, the power's going off and on intermittently. The fridge just stopped working 2 days ago. Like, it's a brand new fridge, brand new appliances. The fridge is crapped out. It just doesn't work anymore. And I'm doing like all this HelloFresh nonsense, and I have a fridge full of groceries. So I just pretty much had to I made all the food and just stored it. So I made like 3 meals in one day, and then I just made the other food, or I'm just storing. I took in the freezer. It's going to stay cold for a while with some ice packs. I just put my shit in there. So it's going good over here at my place. I'm fucking go caveman primitive with how to keep my food good. I'm doing salt curing with my food now. Jesus Christ, dude. But yeah, we're looking for new places. We went and looked at this place today, and it's actually really nice. It's got all this it's got all these cool elements of the house that I like. Like you can step down into some rooms. There's like this thick like shag carpeting in the upstairs where the podcast studio would be. My bedroom and the podcast studio would actually be in separate rooms across from each other, which is cool. I would love to have I know it's called the My Room Podcast, but I would love to have the podcast studio outside of my room. I'll build a set for that. I don't really want to call it that. It's going to stay My Room Podcast, but it can be anywhere. I could do a little fake, it's my intention to build a set anyway. We're trying to blow this thing up. We don't want it to be where I sleep forever. It's hard to, I've already had a girl over here, and it's hard to explain what the hell I'm doing, even though it's pretty obvious, I think, what's going on. But I don't know, dude. So a lot of that shit's been weighing on me, having to find a new place to live. I've been meeting the fucking plumbing staff. I met this guy, the plumbers that came over. They saw the podcast studio, and they knew what it was. They knew. They asked, like, you doing a podcast? I was like, yeah. Then they asked me what it was. I looked it up on the YouTube forum, and they just started watching it in front of me. I just started watching the podcast, and then they started laughing about something. I got scared. I had to run away. I ran downstairs, and then I didn't talk to them for like 2 days, the plumbing people. And then as they were leaving, one of the guys, he knocked on my door. I opened the door. He's like, hey, man, it's this guy. My shout out to my dude, Mark Clark, dude. He's a very cool guy. He called me today. He's a plumber. But it was the funniest interaction. Like, he was finishing up. He's in my bathroom, and he's like cleaning shit off the floor. There was shit. I'm telling you, all the sewage since the whole time we lived here was in the wall behind my toilet. So they had to remove the drywall, just pump all the shit out. They got excrement everywhere. And my homie Mark was just like, he's finishing up, and he's like, yeah, bro, so I used to write comedy and work on, and he's like, you care if I get your contact information? I'll try to keep up to you. I was like, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. So I gave him my phone number. And then this is not stuff that I care about at all, but it was so funny. He was just like, yeah, man, that's how I got to Nashville. I just was in prison, and me and this girl got paroled out here together. We on the same day, so we rode out here. We met as we got paroled. We were just gonna stay together, and we got to Nashville, and her mom was like, I'm not taking her or him, and he had to sleep at the mission. And I was just like, thank God that I'm I don't want to say tolerant, but I'm like an accepting person. Because like a lot of people that maybe would look like me, they would give him the phone number, and they'd be like, oh, what the fuck, I give him my phone number too. But he's cool. Nice guy, very cool. He called. He was checking in on our situation. So shouts out to Mark Clark. I'm probably going to have him on the podcast. We're going to talk about what he wants to do in comedy. We're going to talk about, I want to talk to a guy about his time in prison. I want to see what that show's about. See if he's open to talking about that. See if he signed an NDA about talking about that. Because, God, man, I don't know how NDA works, but as far as I know, I can't expose any exact, details like specific names or companies or staff members and stuff like that. So I could say that my plumbing was all fucked up and I have to move and go to a different place. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say my fridge, went bad and all my groceries are rotting as we speak. I'm allowed to say that. Dude, it's so fucking crazy. Our lives, it's getting tense over here, boy. We've been everybody arguing. Everybody's upset about shit all the time. It's just like we're in a position with getting out of this thing where we're just like, we're worried about legality shit. We're worried that we're going to sign some fucking contract and then people are going to come back on us like looking for a whole bunch of money. So we're just like trying to I'm looking at having to do lawyer business, dude. I've been talking to lawyers, getting a lawyer. Whatever, man. It is what it is, though. I'm just I had a good thing going with, I had the podcast guests booked. I had a calendar. I had like 2-3 guests a week, and now I'm having to cancel. I've had to cancel several guests because I just can't host people in my home. It smells like goddamn shit in here. There's concrete floor everywhere. I don't know if the power's going to go out in the middle of doing something. I have no idea what's going to happen. So I just it is what it is, man. That's honestly what I've got going on in my life right now. It's all I've been focused on. I haven't shaved my face even. If you're watching the podcast, you can tell. You can see that. You can see I look horrible. I saw myself next to Corey Knox last week, dude. And, dude, I looked ghastly. I looked horrible. I need to get a tan. I got to start working out. I went and played tennis this week. Probably going to start playing more tennis, hopefully with Corey Knox. But I don't know, man. Life's getting back to normal. I'm going to be back at the comedy club this week. Comedy club was back the last couple weekends. We had a bunch of local people on a show 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. I don't know how time works, but I was there, and it was a lot of fun, man. Chance Willie, Aaron Weber, Connor Larson, John Christ, Monty Mitchell. A lot of fun comics, man. It was a really cool show. Not a lot of people there, and it's kind of fun to be at the comedy show where there's not a lot of folks there, because the comics kind of get loose, and they like my boy Aaron Weber. He's a clean comic, and he's like real professional, and he always does really well on shows. And he was hosting, and he was bringing out Connor and Chance with like funny intros that might like bury them. When Chance is coming out, he's like, this next guy, I don't like him at all, but he's here tonight, and I don't think you're gonna like him either. Give it up for Chance. With something like that. It was very funny, and he was doing the same thing for Connor, something like that. So, this past weekend, I know Steve Byrne was there. I wasn't there for any of the shows because I'm dealing with hiring a lawyer. But I know Theo Vaughn was there dropping in on the show, so maybe Theo Vaughn's out here moving himself out here to the Nashville. I know that Josh Wolf is going to be moving out here. Hey, baby, you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to parlay all this podcast technology knowledge I've used into being hooked up with some of these podcast guys and some of these comics. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to advance this podcast shit, baby. I know my dude John Hickok 45, he started his, or I don't know if he's Young Hickok 45, I don't know, but that's like the most popular gun channel on YouTube. They've got like billions of views on their videos, but John has restarted his podcast, and I'm gonna reach out to him, and I'm just gonna reach out to everybody that wants to do a podcast, and I'm gonna be like, hey, let me do your podcast, baby. Let me make my career being a little podcast boy. That's what I want to do. So I don't know, man. That's all we got going on. I hung out with a dear friend, my friend Alex Ramsey, that I haven't hung out with in like 2 years, that lives just like down the street from me. He's been my friend for like 10 years, and I've just never hung out with him, he hits me up, and I just never hang out with him, so I'm a horrible guy. We went and played tennis. We hung out and talked about, what we're working on. My homie, dude, he got diabetes. I'm not going to expose the personal details about his life, but he's been at the beginning of the quarantine. I'm not going to sign an NDA with my friend, but he found out he had diabetes at the beginning of the quarantine. So he's been dealing with that stuff, and we just kind of caught up on what that's been like for him, which seems like it's been good. He's being positive about it. He's got a good outlook going on, and I feel like everybody's just got some crazy shit going on right now. Like everybody that's either been having to work from home constantly and they don't like it. They're used to being out and getting a little social time. There's people that have been out of work like myself for long periods of time with nothing really going on. I just think, the election, if you tune into the politics, shit's fucking crazy. So it's just kind of hard there's not a lot of frequencies to tune into in life that are like have positive like waves in it. In my life, I'm trying to do that, but it's like literally everything right now is horrible. It's like I literally open my door, I step out the door over here, there's shit on the ground. There's a hole in the wall with the fucking shit pump. I can see into it, my power could go out at any moment in the middle of recording my important money-making podcast operation. Anything, I can't host guests because there's shit holes in the walls, There's been a fly. If you watched the last episode, there was a moment where I had to apologize to Corey Knox for the flies. We found out that the flies have most likely been a symptom of the shithole wall. So, less flies, but now that they've been in my room less, but still they're fucked up. So flies, what else has been going on with me? Oh yeah, my bank account got broken into and defrauded. Not even kidding. I went and saw Tenet. I don't know if defrauded is the right word. My debit card was stolen, and someone tried to clean out my bank account. So, yeah, everything's been going really good for me. I almost forgot about that. I almost was like, man, I'm running. Oh, yeah, that's right. Someone broke into your bank account and stole all your money. I went and saw Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie. The movie theater finally opened back up, and I love going to the movies, and I I'd seen the trailers for a while for this Tenet movie, and they've delayed its release. And I was like, man, I really want to see what it's about. And it was really interesting. I think there's a lot of it's like get to the bank fraud stuff. No, but the movie was interesting. If you haven't seen it, a lot of the stuff it's got this. It's about reverse entropy is the whole concept. It's like there are people that have discovered how to irradiate objects and themselves. They move backwards in time while you move forwards. Bullets can move backwards. Bombs can explode backwards. And if it sounds hard to understand, it's really hard to understand. But they kind of lay out the technology as the movie goes on, and you start to make sense of things. There's events you witness earlier in the movie that later in the movie, because of the reverse time thing, you see what these timelines coincide, and you didn't know what was happening earlier. It's pretty cool. Some people talk shit on those Christopher Nolan movies or whatever, and they're all just kind of. I think those people are haters. They think they're like regurgitated ideas, like it's like Inception. It's like a lot of these just weird movies he's made, but to conceptualize an idea like this, it's like mad respect, dude. It's like so crazy to imagine these characters that are on different timelines and the timelines happen at the same time. You kind of had Looper, that movie Looper was like that, but it didn't achieve it nearly as well as this. There's like all this dramatic irony in certain parts that gets revealed to you later, and then now it's on you get to see the characters from earlier in the movie still not knowing what's going on while you know what's going on. So it was a lot of fun. But then my debit card got left on the concession counter by the stupid teenage fucking popcorn kid, and I just left it there and forgot. And then someone found it there, and they stole all my money. So, that's been pretty good for me. And, I looked at the charges. I'm not signing an NDA on this, so I can say whatever the fuck I want. But some kid went to Chipotle and spent like $50. Probably bought all his friends fucking Chipotle. He went to Waffle House. He got Postmates like an idiot. Logged my information to somebody's Postmates account. He paid for over $109 on his PlayStation Network. So I filed a police report and got they flagged. I had woken up that day, and that was a day where we were dealing with a lot of house stuff. And I got a text from my bank that was like, "Hey, somebody tried to drop $50 on this website, and we locked your account." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." I don't know how somebody did that because I didn't lose my debit card. I didn't know at that point that I lost my card. And it had been 2 days already since I saw the movie. So, dude, I just got depressed thinking about losing my debit card because I still can't spend money. If you don't know, at the time of this recording, it's been Labor Day weekend. So I found out over Labor Day weekend that my bank account's been broken. And then, too, my debit card's lost. So now my account's locked. I can't go to the bank and get a new debit card. I've just been chilling. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. At least I have groceries in my refrigerator. And then my refrigerator blows out, and all my groceries go bad. And so it's just been like, a lot weighing on your boy, a lot going on. Can't host guests in a house like that. It's like, can I get you some? I can't give you any. My hot water heater's been out for a couple days. We had to get that fixed today. Turns out it was just off at the breaker because the power's been tripping on and off for no reason. So it's just hot water. A lot going on. So I had to call the police and file a police report, and they told me I didn't find out till late at night what had happened because I was gonna go get food delivered, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, my bank account's locked, I can't get food delivered. So I looked at my bank account and noticed all these other charges that I was, like $200 worth of charges I was not aware of. So I had to, call the 24-hour bank people and make a dispute and then call the police. And the police said, they're not urgent with the fucking bank fraud, to come over and do a police report. So the dispatch lady, I didn't call the emergency hotline. I called non-emergency hotline, and she told me, yeah, just chill, and they'll be there within. I don't have a wait time, but I know, I got my car stolen one time. It took the cops over an hour to get there. This was not in Tennessee, but I didn't have a lot of faith. I was like, is it going to be hours? So I just sat on the porch, talked to my sister for forever, and they finally called me back. They're like, we're going to do the report over the phone because of COVID-19. I was like, that's great. I don't want the police in my house. Didn't want you here. So I told them all the information and shit, and then they've never contacted me for 2 days. So, hopefully that's going to get resolved. I'm going to get my $200 back. Honestly, not the end of the world to lose the $200. I've had this happen to me before. And they got like $700 or $800 of my money and like dropped it all on hotels and at the Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl when Philadelphia played New England. I think that's when it was. Or something. No, Philadelphia. I don't know who they played. They played somebody. They didn't play New England. They played somebody. But it's when the Eagles won the goddamn Super Bowl. And, yeah, they stayed in some shitty hotels on my dime because my roommate had my Hulu account logged in on his computer. And this is the most boring episode because I'm the saddest guy in the world today. I'm so sad, dude. I can't believe all this shit has gone wrong. The fridge, the house, the bank. I just wanted to go see a goddamn movie, and it led to my bank account being broken into and my life being destroyed. It's just been horrible. We still don't have a dryer. What's the craziest thing is the whole time I could get through my life if I had a dryer because I could wash and dry my clothes in my residence. But I can't. So I'm just like, it's crazy that one of the biggest things that affects my mood in life is just having clothes for being fresh and being able to wear the clothes I want to wear. Because, I have, a good amount of clothes. And this sounds absurd to hearing it coming out of my mouth, but, I can keep such a positive attitude in life if I can just wear the clothes I want to wear that I own. It's, that easy for me. The shit can be going wrong, things can be going horrible, but as long as I can have access to, keeping my shit clean and wearing what I want and wearing the socks I want and, get to take the showers and use the bath towels I want, that's, makes me happy. And, if I can't do those things, I don't have access to those things, it kind of degrades my quality of life from the jump no matter what's going on. So that's just a weird thing for me. It's having a haircut gives me a good mood, makes me in a good mood. Having a hat I like. Those are the simple things that make me happy. And my fucking whole life is just depriving me of those things. And then it's just all right, well, I can deal with that. It's not at least I have a fridge that dispenses water. It's I don't have a refrigerator anymore. It's okay, well, at least I can have my podcast studio. Well, my fucking house smells like shit and there's holes in my walls and water leaking out of places and giant plastic fans running all the time. And I got to do legal battles and sign agreements to I can't talk about the shit on the podcast. It's horrible. So, I'm dealing with it. It is what it is. I think, this weekend we were supposed to have my boy Donnie Singstack on the podcast. I was supposed to have my boy Ross Livermore, Brian B. of Covington. I was going to have my boy Ben. We got to reschedule all those guests. But coming up, I know in the future, we'll be moved this month in September. We'll be moved within the next 2 weeks, I think. We just have to find, what sucks in Nashville? I just live in a prime, I have the worst posture in the world. I just have to, this is a prime real estate market here in Nashville. My hair is horrible. I have horrible posture. Need to shave my face. We have a really popular real estate market. A lot of people move around here, and then when houses become available, they just disappear kind of quick. So, because a lot of people are like us, that it's the houses disappear so fast, you just have to, when you find one you like or just want it all, you have to get into it, and then you take it off the market, and that's it. So, we kind of need 4 bedrooms or a couple bonus rooms if we don't have 4 bedrooms because we have a home office here, we have the studio here. We need a little bit of space. So, it's just hard to find a place that meets our needs that we can plan around, and we don't know our timetable right now for when we're going to get out. So we could be needing to move next week, but someone's not able to meet our thing, so we'll be homeless. Or it could be that we need to move. We need a little bit more time, and we can't lock into a date. But I don't know. I think that's all going to be fine. I think it's going to work itself out. Honestly, just hopefully the money shakes out with the people giving us our money back, and we just get out of this goddamn house, baby. That's all we want. So, which I think it is going to be fine. I think it's all going to be good. But it just sucks I can't have we're rolling with the podcast guest, baby. We're becoming a good interviewer. I'm connecting to people. I'm spreading the word. I'm out here, doing podcast clips. I'm getting better with my video editing, learning the algorithm, learning how to make text smaller because text is too big and there's too much text. They don't want to show you video on Instagram. A lot of people are buying into the validity of the podcast. A lot of people are starting to leave comments now. The people that were past guests on the podcast are liking and sharing and leaving comments. And that's how we're getting growth. We're getting exponential growth. That's what we love. That's what we've been wanting. In the beginning of the quarantine, when we envisioned, I like to say we all the time, even though it's just me. When we envisioned the podcast studio, before we had lights and cameras, before we had the audio gear, when it was just an idea, when I had whiteboards and wrote the shit down. This is what we wanted, and we're doing it. And now I moved to a place that I like, and now I got to leave it. And I got to build the podcast studio again in another place. Every week it's different. If it's all, and you know how it's gonna be. I get in the new place, and I'm gonna have to over 3-4 weeks fine tune the details of the studio, and then it'll probably change every 2 to 3 weeks after that. So it's like, shit's gonna continue to change. But I know one thing: it's gonna be better in the new place. It's gonna be better. I know it will be. As long as I don't get shoved into some tiny small room and there's no bonus area room for me to do my podcast. Because what sucks, given the quarantine, is before the quarantine, I'm the only at-home business person. Everybody else has their jobs. They go to offices. They have cool jobs. And then me, I'm like, oh, well, I got to have a place to do my home podcasting. And they're like, oh, yeah, David's doing his starting his business. And that's great. And it's respectable. But then the quarantine happens, and it's like everybody has to work at home now. 3 people working at home versus me working at home. It's like, well, David, if there's not a lot of we have to have an office space because we have real jobs. And this is like, at that point, it's not like this is my hobby, but it is like I have to respect. It's like, oh, you have your jobs. Now you have to have a space to work. So it's like, shit, now I have to have a podcast studio in my bedroom. And that's why I get the My Room podcast. And that's why it's called My Room Podcast with David Chastain, because it's in my room. And we're going to stick with that theme no matter what. Hey, look.
We're going to stick with the theme no matter what. I'm going to call it the My Room Podcast. As I build a bigger set, I think I'll build a big set one day, and I'll have a little bed frame with that big long night hat. And I think I'm going to do stuff like that.
I just don't, what else has happened? I had to deal with the police. My bank was broken into. I got bit by a spider in my sleep. Can you believe that? I woke up the other day, my leg was itching, and I was like, oh, it actually itches a lot. Oh, it actually kind of hurts. And I look, a spider bit me in my sleep. I don't know if I've ever been bit by a spider in my life. Maybe once, years ago. And now it's like I got a big shithole in the wall. I got my power intermittently going out. Hey, it's stayed on. It hasn't stayed on for this long, all day long. I think whatever I did, I just started plugging everything that no one is using while they're asleep. It stayed on. I should have. But I think, what if it's the one light that I did, so I look horrible at this angle? What if it's just the one light? God damn, dude, I'm just tired. I don't like the solo episodes. I'll be real. You don't like them either. I look at the analytics. People listen for an average of a certain amount of time with these episodes. They listen for more time with the guests. It's because you got more to deal with. You don't just want to hear me drone on and on about things. People say, hey, man, it's crazy. You could just, you sit in front of a camera and talk for, an hour. It's like, yeah. But it's like, it's not good. It's like, yeah. Fix my bad posture. It's like... It's like, it's not good, it's like, it's a talent maybe to be able to sit and talk out loud for 1 hour. Maybe that's just insane. Maybe it's not a talent, it's an ability. Can I say that? I know it's an ability. I don't think it's good. I think I'll get better at it, and it'll end up parlaying into me making some money. I think people are going to like it one day. I think it's going to make me money one day, but it's not like great. People say it to me like it's good, but they know it's not good, dude. To be able to do this. Oh, dude, I hate it so much. I'm so done with this fucking stupid house. The people we looked at the house today, they had a Tesla. Daddy got a Tesla. No, they're rich, dude. The lady had a Tesla t-shirt on, and she was painting, and the Tesla shirt was it had a Tesla logos on it, and it was ripped up and had paint all over it. And we go in the back, she had a Tesla. Tesla's charging. Her kids live next door. They're remodeling the house next door, and it was dope. It's kind of like a compound. It had this huge gate, and the gate is electronic remote. So I'm gonna be if we get this house, I'm gonna be living in it's got all this brick and fence, privacy fence, and I'm gonna basically live in a compound. That's gonna be what's going on, a 70s remodeled house compound. So that'll be a lot of fun. It had a huge backyard area. Might be getting a little basketball goal. I don't know. Doing a lot of shrubbery work. We got to take care of the landscaping. A lot of shrubs. A lot of privacy shrubs. I've really developed a love-hate relationship for my yard work again. That's not something I plan to talk about on the podcast. But, we've been having to mow grass this summer. And I like doing it. But I also I like to do it for 1 week and then not do it for 3 weeks. Which is not really how yard work is supposed to happen. So hopefully with this next place, I'm able to lock down more on that. I did buy a lot of lawn equipment. I'm looking forward to. I left my. I got an electric weed eater and leaf blower, and they run off a little battery. Left my battery charger out in the rain and broke it. So the batteries still work. Left the batteries out in the rain. Batteries work fine. Battery charger broke. So, maybe Cobalt work on the, waterproofing your battery chargers. Batteries are doing good. The machines are working great. Maybe you could, step up your engineering on waterproofing those chargers. I know it's got open holes where the thing, but, it collected water like a dish for a week maybe. But that's my shit should break because of that. So desperate for things to talk about. I mean, it's going to be a short episode this week for sure. We're not going to go a full 50 minutes even. But I don't know. I just want to keep you guys up to date. We were doing a good roll with the podcast, and I didn't want to get on lose the habit of doing weekly episodes. Even though I can't have my guests right now, we might. If I'm unable to get the podcast studio set up in a new place by next week, I'll probably take a little mobile rig somewhere and try to do something with somebody in a unique location. We might just do a one-cam thing, and we'll figure something out with that. And we're going to continue to evolve the podcast, baby. I know I say it. It's my favorite thing to say. We're going to continue to evolve. We're going to grow. We're going to learn. We're going to change. We're going to be here together. I'm going to be here with you. Hopefully you're here with me. We're going to learn about cool, fun guests. I've been learning that the guests have stories. Maybe we could reflect on that a little bit. If you've not listened to Matt Taylor or Corey Knox's episode, they're a lot better than this one. Now we go check those out right now. Just immediately stop this and go check out the other one. Or if you already heard those ones, you can let me talk about those ones for a minute. Though I think people are going to have a lot of cool stories, and I've found that it's so fun to get to know people. To sit with people and getting them in the setup. The thing that was really fun about the way I set the podcast up, originally we were kind of sitting like side by side, and that's not a natural way people sit and talk to each other. It felt weird. But now I've got it, we're like sitting across from each other at a table, and I think that's a lot. You forget about the lights, you forget about the cameras, you forget everything I got going on, and you forget that I'm even recording what we're saying, I think, and people just start telling you details about things. They start saying things to you. They're open when you ask them a question about their life, maybe in like a normal conversation. And it's not necessarily things I think people would hide about themselves. It's just people don't get in the habit of like discussing personal details about their life and telling the stories in great detail. And I think there's a lot of fun in the details of those stories of people. Like Matt Taylor had a crazy story about a life-threatening sports injury that I never would have gotten to. I almost wouldn't have gotten at all if I didn't think to ask him about a baseball story that I had been thinking about, one of my own, for a while. Corey Knox had all those crazy stories about being on the team with Khalil Mack, confronting Rex Ryan after he was cut from the Bills. His WWE workout, crazy story. How he got on to play at University of Buffalo. I mean, that podcast was such a joy to do. So I think a lot of people are going to have stories like that where they're able to kind of just, people are way more interesting than you think. I think you give them the platform to be interesting. You give them a chance. Like you just interview them a little bit. I think people got these crazy stories. I sat down and started making a list of people I want to be on. My friend asked me, my friend that I hadn't hung out with in years, he asked me about, do I just want to have comics on, or who would I consider having on? And I want to have anybody on that would be interesting. I thought about having my grandfather on, I thought about like that my grandfather, I know him and I know some stuff about his life, but I don't know like all these details. I don't know all these like I know when he was young he used to smoke cigarettes, he used to drink and stuff like that. And he's a Pentecostal preacher. Like my whole life he's been like, we won't go to a restaurant that serves alcohol. That's how, like, he's not, like, hardcore against it, like, vocally, and, like, he's not, like, negative about it or whatever, but he doesn't go places that serve alcohol, he doesn't drink, he doesn't keep that stuff around him, his kids smoke and they drink and stuff, but nobody drinks around him, and people don't really smoke around him either, so they kind of, like, respect him in that, and I just, he went to Korea. I know that he quit he quit school, and he's, like, in the 7th grade, he went to Korea, and he snuck some Korean national onto the Army payroll. Like, this is before computers. And this kid needed a job or whatever. He got to be kind of friendly with him. And he snuck him, like, into the Army under the radar. And then him and that guy, they went, he told my granddad he had a sister that lived, across Korea somewhere, like, behind enemy lines. And my granddad talked to some commanding officer or whatever, and they had a weekend of leave or something, and he gave my granddad and this kid a Jeep to go rescue is like not rescue her from like a mafia or something, but just like to go but just to go find her and see if she was still at their house. And they found her and brought her back to the base, and then the guy got out of the army situation, just lived his life with his sister. I mean, it's like crazy stories about, like, you know, my granddad, his dad, he has this crazy story about his dad. His dad tells him a story about a guy that he knew that they were out on horses. This is like when cars had just started. Like, people that have cars, they're still riding horses. And the carriages and shit, wagons. And my granddad's dad was with some guys, and someone tried to rob a guy, and they pulled a gun out and tried to fire it at the guy they were trying to rob, and the gun didn't go off. They fired a revolver like 6 times, like fired it all the way around, didn't go off. And then went and pointed it at a tree and fired it, and it went off. And so my granddad had heard that story from his father, that some guy did that. And then he told it to somebody later in life. And that person was like, the person in that story was your father. His dad told him a story, like, and lied and said he didn't have to tell my granddad that story. You know, my great-grandfather didn't have to tell my granddad that story. But he told him this story about a robbery gone wrong, and how this guy who was angry and mistaken in his life could have made a mistake and committed a murder. And he ended up, like, God saved him probably because the pistol didn't go off, I think was the story. And then when he just removed it from the guy's head and pointed it over, then it went off. But he realized after the flash of anger, when he tried to shoot the guy originally, he was like, oh, I would have murdered a guy for no reason. And my granddad recounted that story to a person later in life, and they were like, that was your dad that did that. Your dad almost killed the guy. And it's like and the guy guy's name was Bill Wren. Was the guy that he almost killed. So just like, I think there's a lot of people in my life that would be interesting guests that, you know, I don't know them as even people that I think I know well that I don't know well enough. That's such a fucking stupid. I started thinking about the mic stand in the middle of talking, and I just said the same thing twice in a row. No, just people that I don't know as well as I think I know them. I'm gonna fix this thing one day. It's creaking like so bad, dude. The podcast, everything in my life is falling apart. We know it by now. So what do we want to do, man? It's been 37 minutes of a solo episode. I think we could probably call it quits on this one. It's been a lot of fun. You know, don't worry about me, though, baby. Hey, life is hard. Life's harder for other people, you know? Life's hard for me today. I got a fucking wall with the shit knocked out of it. Some people don't have indoor plumbing. Some people don't have a life that's worth living. Some people have never shit indoors. And those people that think they have a life better than me sometimes, which is fine to think. You know, I watched a video of these kids from Africa the other day, and they were talking about, why would I go to America? Where people jump off of buildings, where people kill themselves? I would go to that place where people in Africa don't even understand killing yourself in this small village. These kids I was watching, they don't get it. They'd be like, why would I go? I'm going to poop in a toilet? They were like, why? Maybe I'll poop outside, then I'll put it in the toilet. They don't even want the toilet. So maybe my illusion about I have delusions about what's good and bad, maybe. Maybe my problems aren't bad. And maybe they're not. I have a studio, beautiful studio. I have a podcast. I got beautiful fans. You know, people like you out there that love watching the podcast and love supporting me. And I hope you keep doing it. I hope you subscribe to the podcast. I hope you share it. Maybe don't share this one, but share the Corey Knox episode on your social media. Put it on your Twitter. You know, put that link out there so we can get this thing bigger, get this thing growing. And in the new space with the new studio, we're going to have guests every week. And remember the Patreon. The Patreon's live now, and after this unfortunate solo episode, all solo episodes are going to be exclusively on the Patreon. So make sure you go to patreon.com/myroom. And if it's confusing to use Patreon right now, of course it's confusing to use it. Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy to use. Nothing's easy in life. But everyone's going to use Patreon in the future, so get a head start on it now. Start a Patreon account, and for $1 a month, that's all you got to give me. Get premium content. I'm going to start a couple premium podcasts themselves. One where I listen to a record that I like, and I'll talk about the record while I listen to it. One where I watch fights and athletic events and do video game streams or something like that. That's just going to be its own podcast. So if you love me or you don't love me, you want that content, you don't want it, just throw away $1 on me, please. So thanks for coming to my room. I'm David Chastain. Stick around for future episodes. I'm out, yo.